Hello, friends. This is Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, July 24th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Trying to adjust a little bit there, get in the frame. There we go. All right, welcome this Friday. Thank you for joining us. I guess the good news, we're not bombing Iran right now. We got a lot of news to get to. The ins and outs of Iran. The White House Correspondents' Dinner is tonight. Hopefully everything goes well and there's no more hoaxes, if you know what I'm saying. We got technocracy news for you today. A little bit. We're going to take a little bit of a look at Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove is going on over in California, where I'm at. We got Epstein news, as per usual. A whole bunch of economic news. Trump is now weaponizing the tariffs. Smoot-Hawley. We're going to take a look at that. What else do we? Quite a bit today. A bunch of geopolitical news. And now it seems aardvarks have moved. Well, they're still whacking Palestinians. Now they moved to the West Bank. We'll cover that. They're still doing controlled demolitions there in Lebanon as well. Take a look at that. And a whole bunch more on this Friday edition of Weaponized News for you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I see a few people coming online now. Shout out to Mac, A-Dub on the YouTube, and Strong on the Rumble. Strong says stock crashing hard. Holy shnikes, going to zero. Yeah, I don't know about going to zero, but we'll take a look at a bunch of economic news here for you today as well on this Friday. Okay, let's get to this day in history. On this day in our history of July 24th, we go back to the year 1487. 1487, citizens of Leeuwarden, Netherlands, rebel against ban on foreign beer. Maybe that's what it'll take to kick it off. Trump's putting a bunch of tariffs on all over the place, but Canada, I don't know. Does Canada have any beer you guys like? Maybe that's what it takes. Something's got to kick this thing off, man, of a rebellion against these tyrannical maniacs calling themselves our government. Maybe it's a beer ban or heavy beer tariffs. I don't know. Something's got to spark the people's interest to get them fired up enough, you know? On this day in 1660, we saw the Great Fire of 1660 in Constantinople. 2/3 of the city is destroyed, including 280,000 wooden houses burned to the ground, with the death toll of around an estimated 40,000 people. Tragic event there in Constantinople on this day, 1660. France is on fire too. We have some reports about that. We have reports about Russia, Ukraine as well. All of that is escalating, tragically enough. On this day in 1823, slavery is abolished in Chile. On this day in 1847, Brigham Young, is that like a call for the youth? Just kidding. Brigham Young and his Mormon followers arrive in Salt Lake City, Utah. And again, for all the wrongdoings and bads of the Mormons, hey, keep in mind when the S hits the fan, they're big time preppers. You want to be friends with Joe Blow Mormons out there. I'm telling you, they're prepping big time. Okay, 1866, on this day, Tennessee becomes the first Confederate state readmitted to the Union after the American Civil War. On this day, 1877, first time federal troops are used to combat strikers. 1880, on this day, first commercial hydroelectric plant in the world begins generating electricity in Grand Rapids, Michigan. On this day in 1933, German judge Vogt signs decree of accusation against Marnus van der Lubbe for setting the Reichstag fire, right? And that's like one of the most famous false flags, right? The Nazis, Hitler set up this alleged communist saying that he burnt down the Reichstag when it was really Hitler and the Nazis. 1941, on this day, then U.S. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt freezes Japanese assets and demands that Japan withdraw its forces from French Indochina. On this day, 1969, we had another 1945 on this day. 1945 on this day, hot and heavy, World War II, a suicide attack by a Japanese kamikaze, or actually not a Japanese kamikaze, Japanese Katin manned torpedo sinks the U.S. Navy destroyer USS Underhill west of Guam. Nearly half the 236-member crew are killed. 1969, on this day, the hoax moon landing comes home. Apollo 11 returns home. Apollo 11 returns to Earth after taking the first astronauts to the moon and returning home safely. Yeah, I don't believe it. It's fake. Go look at it. Go look at it. It's fake. Whatever they told us, they filmed that in a Hollywood basement. All Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication. Just saying. Stanley Kubrick. One of my favorite films, Death Wish, on this day was released in 1974. Great vigilante film there. On this day in 2013, we saw a conflict between the Knights Templar cartel and Mexican police in Michoacan, Mexico, leaving 22 people dead. On this day in 2019, Facebook agrees to pay a $5 billion fine, the largest ever, for violating consumer privacy, to the Federal Trade Commission. On this day, just 2 years ago in 2024, here in my state of California, we saw the park fire is started by an arsonist in Butte County, California, and later grows to become the 7th largest wildfire in state history. And I think I even remember they got up there on the news, said, this is climate change. It's like, bro, they arrested a guy for arson. So in California, climate change equals arson. And they're trying to do this thing in your quasi-independent conservative media out there to revive the legacy of Richard Nixon for some strange reason. Anyhow, on this day in our civil liberties history, 1971, Nixon Plumbers Unit created. Illegal actions follow. Members of President Nixon's White House staff on this day created what they called the, quote, Plumbers Unit, led by Charles Colson and Eagle Cord. The unit was so named because its purpose was to stop leaks to the news media. 6 weeks after the group was created, the plumbers on September 9th, 1971, burglarized the offices of Dr. Lewis Fielding, a psychiatrist treating Daniel Ellsberg, who had leaked the famous Pentagon papers to the news media, published in the New York Times on June 13th, 1971, and the landmark Supreme Court decision on freedom of speech, June 3rd, 1971. The creation of the White House Plumbers Unit set the Nixon administration on the road to the famous Watergate burglary on June 17, 1972. The burglary touched off a national scandal that gripped the nation for 15 months. From the day of the original Watergate burglary to President Nixon's resignation, the burglary also led to investigations that uncovered other abuses of power by President Nixon and several members of his administration. These include the famous enemies list of critics of the Nixon administration who were targeted for retaliation. Nixon was impeached by the House of Representatives on July 27, 1974, and he resigned in disgrace on August 9, 1974. President Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon on September 8, 1974, for any crimes he may have committed while president. The Vietnam War created a number of civil liberties crises. They include the lack of congressional declaration of war as required by the Constitution. We see that today. We're seeing that today with Iran war. Same deal. We've gone backwards. We backslid as far as being a constitutional republic, right? We've backslid big time. So now we're a quasi dictatorship run by aardvarks. Essentially, it's quite a sight to see here with a blackmailed federal government. Amazing. Threats to freedom of the press in the Pentagon Papers, spying on anti-war movement by the CIA, threats to freedom of expression. For example, high school student protests, censorship of television programs, and directly and indirectly some of the events that led to the Watergate scandal. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1974, Supreme Court orders President Nixon to turn over tapes. Resignation soon follows. In the United States versus Nixon, a landmark decision on the scope of executive privilege. The Supreme Court on this day unanimously rejected President Richard Nixon's claim of privilege and ordered him to turn over audio tapes of 64 White House conversations related to the Watergate scandal. The court upheld the principle of executive privilege, but not Nixon's use of it in this case. The recordings revealed that Nixon attempted to obstruct justice in the Watergate scandal. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up, right? The release of the tapes led to his resignation, as we just covered in the last. The most famous and incriminating tape was the so-called smoking gun recording of June 23rd, 1972, in which Nixon clearly plotted with one of his top advisors how they could end the FBI investigation of the Watergate burglary. The Watergate burglary on June 17, 1972. Yeah, we covered that, touched off a national scandal until Nixon resigned and then later pardoned by Ford. Didn't Trump say, basically commit whatever crime you want, I'll give you a pardon? And Biden did the same thing, right? Oh, we're having big Fauci hearings. Whoop-de-doo, he already has a pardon. I mean, this is old. They're replaying the bat stuff now, 6 years later. We're not getting justice out of it, bro. Sorry. Take your miracles. It's ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous. All right, let's get to the news. Here's our segue. Here's Trump punking out MAGA again. If you're still following Trump and part of MAGA, I don't even know what to tell you at this point. You're a brainwashed fool, idiot, clown, and you deserve everything you get. Here's Trump clowning you, MAGA.
Well, I think they support what I support. You know, we just had a complete win in Arizona. The young gentleman who's Harry Enton, I believe his name is, the pollster, said Trump's 100% favorable. He gets everybody he endorses wins, which is pretty much true. Everyone I endorse, just about, wins. So there seems to be a natural bond between me and MAGA, but I'm the one that created MAGA, and I know what MAGA wants better than anybody else. You know, MAGA knows what MAGA wants, and MAGA is very happy. They want to see this done, and they're not going to be happy if it's not done. Make America great again. It's all about make America. We started that a long time ago. Well, I think they
Make America great again. What a bunch of bullshit. Trump's a con man, criminal. Now they're getting ready to send a bunch of young men and women here, and trannies, I guess, or maybe transgenders are not allowed now. I'm sure they'll get back in the mix as we start stacking up U.S. bodies here. Here's a PR man, Sean Purnell, out of Department of War. It's truly disgusting here. Send me, yeah. Sorry, I'm no senator, son. You know what I'm saying? None of these assholes are going to go fight and die. That's the problem. Send me, yeah, to go fight an illegal foreign war of aggression for Aardvark land and for freaking the bankers. All wars are bankers' wars. War's a racket. And last time I checked, Aardvark land, well, I guess according to Huckabee, they founded America. This is what I'm talking about. Disgusting out of the Department of War here now. Grooming the youth to go die in illegal foreign war of aggression for bankers' profits and for Aardvark profits. There you go. Early this week, the Pentagon welcomed about 100 high school students from American Legion Boys State. These young men heard remarks on service, character, and the responsibility that comes with leadership. All complete and utter bullshit. The most disingenuous pieces of shit on the planet are out of the Department of War. There you go. I feel sorry for these young men brainwashed by these bastards that are going to send them off to go die in some foreign land. See, they're already regimented in the uniforms. Hardcore mind control program going on. And why is that pentagram star upside down? I guess it's 5-pointed, but there you go. Why is it upside down on the Medal of Valor there? I don't know. Because the military is a giant mind control operation. That's why. Here's the video out of the Department of War propaganda recruiting the youth, again, to go die in illegal foreign wars of aggression. And none of these no clown in the Trump administration sign up Barron to go over there and fight. Sign up the granddaughter of Trump. Yeah, they won't be fighting. How many deferments did Trump get during Vietnam? 4 or 5, something like that.
You have been told several times this week that you're the leaders of tomorrow. I want to impress upon you, you're the leaders of now. We need you today.
There is no more fitting place to talk about what it means to lead, to serve, and defend our nation's ideals. It is a monument to sacrifice. It is a place that bears the scars of September 11th, 2001, when terrorists struck at the heart of our nation. Ordinary citizens and service members displayed extraordinary heroism in the face of terrorism. A resilient leader does not panic in a storm. They project a calm and deliberate confidence that steadies their team and inspires them to press on. In your lives, you're going to experience setbacks, but true leaders are not defined by how they fail, but how they rise and guide others through the chaos.
Truly disgusting. They're still pumping 9/11. We were lied to about 9/11. Trump's acting like he's still talking with Iran. They said, what's there to talk about? We're in a war, bro. There ain't nothing to talk about.
You're talking, is it Mr. Kushner or Mr. Witkoff, or who's involved in those talks?
sort of everybody, JD and Marco, and a lot of people are talking to, a lot of people to talk to. It's a big deal. But really, when you get right down to it, it's not very complex.
He's an effing liar. Iran says they're not talking to nobody. We're in a war, bro. This stupid, they keep we have no idea why Iran is striking their neighbors, because that's where the attacks against them are coming from. Here's Trump.
If I wasn't here, if I wasn't president, there would be no Israel, and there probably would be no Middle East. And you saw that when they shockingly started shooting at everybody all over the Middle East. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would have used that. There might not be a Middle East as we know it today, but they're definitely, in my opinion,
whether nukes are real or not, they're proving the point. If you got a nuke, then you're not going to get a bombing campaign by America against you. And so now Khomeini's son is highly motivated to develop a nuclear weapon because of this. Bahrain and Kuwait secretly hit Iran with fighter jets earlier this month. Their first direct retaliation hitting drone and missile depots, with the UAE providing intel and air cover. Saudi Arabia is weighing its next move, and some officials are quietly floating regime change in Tehran as the only long-term exit strategy. That's a report out of the Wall Street Journal. It's a mystery why they just went crazy and started attacking their neighbors there. Trump threatens China and Russia if they provide material support to Iran. It would be very bad for them. Really? I'm not going to do jack to China. I guess maybe we'll do another proxy. I don't know. Through Japan, through Taiwan, maybe. Maybe we will. We're getting to that point where world war. He says two major countries that he don't even name them. He says two, but at first he praises them. He says two major countries that people speak of often in terms of Iran are, in my opinion, not participating. If they did, it would be very bad for them. Really. Now, all of that was the lead up to this report. U.S. Selective Service System plans a computer simulation to test how it would carry out a national mobilization of American manpower months before the government begins automatically registering men 18 to 26 for the draft in December, according to a report out of the Military Times. A little bit more about it here. Selective Service System plans computer simulation to wargame the draft. When they do that, I'm gonna have to go out on the streets and start protesting, as you should as well. The Selective Service System wants a computer simulation to test whether its national mobilization plan would actually work months before the agency begins automatically registering American men for the draft. The readiness simulation project lands as the government overhauls a registration system that has been in place since 1940 under a new proposed rule. Men aged 18 to 26 will automatically be registered starting December 19th, with the agency drawing on data held in other federal databases rather than requiring men to sign up themselves. Remember, they took all the information silos that had your data separated in the federal government and brought them together into one nice dashboard to send you off to war via Doge, via Palantir. We do appreciate their efforts. The agency's own assessment is blunt. In a request for a quote, it warned that it currently relies on manual analysis, legacy modeling, outdated assumptions, and historical data sets that fail to reflect modern demographics, communication channels throughout constraints, and operational readiness. Contractors are told to run the simulation while recognizing the legacy draft data may be unreliable. The system would model the full mobilization pipeline: registration, selection, notification, delivery, and classification, along with military entrance processing stations, throughput, no-shows, medical disqualification rates, and diversions into alternative service programs for conscientious objectors. It would also flag bottlenecks and test surge conditions. Polling records from other federal agencies raises privacy concerns. The agency says the simulation will use anonymous aggregated data in a government-owned cloud environment. vendor proposals to carry out these simulations are due August 14th. Yeah, they don't give a damn about any of that. They're going to run it all through Palantir or some other type of AI system. You better believe that. Rapid pace of interceptor and precision guided weapons use worries the White House. A report out of ZBS News. The rapid pace at which the U.S. is expending some of its most advanced air defense interceptors and precision guided weapons in the Middle East is a point of great tension inside the Trump administration as Trump's war with Iran ratchets up once again. Last night I checked CENTCOM, and we're not bombing them right now, or at least right before we came on the air, thankfully. But hey, it's getting ready, I do believe. And the market closed on a Friday, so probably heavy bombing over the weekend, I would suppose here now. U.S. officials who spoke to ZBS News on the condition of anonymity, given the sensitivity of the topic, said the U.S. cannot sustain the rate at which it is expending precision munitions in Iran. We can't afford it either because, again, we're using $3-4 million missiles that are getting taken down by $30,000 Iranian drones. It's just not. It's not cost effective. It's not sustainable. And we're burning through all of those very expensive rockets as well as all of our other munitions in this war. That's not a war. It's definitely a war. Here's a New York Times asking Trump about his consistent war crime threats against Iran.
Quick question about Iran. You're talking about blowing up civilian power plants and bridges. Much of the civilized world would consider that a war crime. Do you?
I won't respond to that question. Who are you with?
The New York Times.
I figured so. Failing New York Times. Yeah, please.
Quick question about Iran.
So you won't even ask him. It is a war crime. He knows it. But then throwing, oh yeah, the failing New York Times. Ha ha ha. So funny. No, you're a war criminal. It's not funny. Iran rejects U.S. ceasefire deal presented by Iraqi leader. So that's what that was all about. But Trump says they're begging every day for a deal. Well, he gave it to Iraq leader. Remember we played the video yesterday. He met up with Iran president. They're giving each other kisses, hugs, all this. So New York Times says the details of the proposal were not immediately clear, but Iranian officials said that it was the only offer on the table and has been flatly rejected. U.S. intelligence agencies believe Iran's new supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba, I guess I should figure out how to pronounce his last name, and I'm told Khomeini, there's like two, I've seen like 5 different spellings of Khomeini, but allegedly there's 2 main ones, and I'm pretty sure I know about the 2 main ones. Anyway, we'll just call him son of old man Khomeini, new supreme leader Khomeini, is more willing than his father, Ali Khomeini, to pursue nuclear weapons. Well, yeah, and he's kind of pissed off because they killed his father and his mother too, I believe they're right, and a granddaughter, a bunch of them. They whacked a whole bunch of the Khomeini family there. So, yeah, he's kind of pissed off. And he can see now, which is clear to the whole world, they're going to think twice, even though they're not. I guess it's anything goes. Who knows at this point? They don't think twice about bombing the hell out of Russia. You know what I mean? And allegedly they have all these nukes, most in the world, allegedly. So maybe it doesn't even matter anymore. But, while Iran has not resumed its nuclear program, officials say new leadership appears more open to developing advanced nuclear capabilities. Well, I don't see what would stop them. Why wouldn't you? Like, bombing the hell out of them gives them every incentive to create a weapon to stop the bombing. It's pretty damn simple math here, right? Iran's foreign minister, Odysee, said the position of the Islamic Republic of Iran is now far higher and stronger than in the past, and we emerge from this war with strength. And going forward, we will get through this stage with even greater strength. What is important is that the Islamic Republic of Iran is now recognized as a symbol of a strong, steadfast, and resilient country. And this is a path we will continue on well into the future. He went on to say a little bit more here. This dude, for those not familiar, he's speaking in Persian. That dude, right? He went on to say, Iran has shown that it will not submit to Americans' bullying and will by no means respond to language or force, pressure, and threats. We neither fear threats nor bow to pressure, and we will not tolerate the language of threats. Trump threatens them every day, right? I'm gonna blow up all your civilian infrastructure. I'm blowing up bridges, water desalination plants, electricity grids, targeting the petroleum manufacturing infrastructure, and so on and so forth, and targeting civilian water supplies, reservoirs, and the like, as we've already seen happen in this war. Continuing, he went on to say, we have a principled policy and we continue to pursue it, protecting the people of Iran and safeguarding Iran's interest in the Strait of Hormuz are among our principles, and we are pursuing them as long as the legitimate objectives and demands of the Iranian people are not fulfilled. It is natural that we will continue on our path. Pentagon mysteriously lowers death toll of service members killed in the war on Iran. I think it's really high. And it's only going to get worse here now. The Pentagon mysteriously lowered its official tally of U.S. service members killed in the war in Iran from 18 to 14 just a day after it issued the 18 dead U.S. soldiers. 3 military officials revealed to the New York Times that the Trump administration quietly removed 4 casualties from the roster of dead U.S. soldiers because their deaths occurred after an unstable April ceasefire, while the Pentagon spokesperson dismissed the discrepancy as temporary data glitch. They're full of shit liars. I mean, they don't even give press conference because they know that they can't, because they're such incredible liars there at the Department of War. They can't even give the American people a freaking press conference update about what the hell's going on in this war because they're such effing liars. Joe Kent famously resigned at the beginning of this in protest over attacking Iran, saying he's part of the U.S. intelligence assessment at the time that said Iran is not an imminent nuclear threat to America. He said this today: if non-proliferation, nuclear proliferation, was our goal, we foolishly sabotaged ourselves in our efforts to reach it. By killing the Ayatollah and attacking Iran, we showed that their strategy, not developing a nuclear weapon and retaining the ability to enrich uranium, was not enough to deter U.S. aggression. Yeah, you told the whole world, you better build that nuke now, bro, or America's going to be bombing you next. So now we gave the incentive to the rest of the world for nuclear weapon proliferation. Not hard to figure out. Now swap Iran for North Korea. We have proven to the world that the only thing that will prevent a U.S. attack is a nuclear weapon. It's becoming self-evident to the world at this point. Let's hear a little clip here. Now from Joe Kent.
Look, you don't need to be a genius to figure out where our bases are. These are the same bases we have been using for decades with some minor changes here and there. And to think that the Iranians don't have sources on the ground, inside all these different countries, to think that you can't pick up us moving military bases, us moving aircraft, us moving, air defense systems via basic satellite imagery. of course, I don't think the Russians and the Chinese need to give Iran much assistance in this. This is why us trying to fight from these static bases, even if you wanted to continue the war, continuing to try and fight the war from these static bases is absolute stupidity. And anyone recommending that we should continue to fight the war from these bases, even just in terms of offering President Trump like good military advice, I cannot figure out for the life of me why the Department of War or whoever's advising him is saying, yeah, Mr. President, we're going to keep fighting from these known static locations. Because
we're literally sitting ducks, right? And they're bombing the hell out of our bases.
The Iranians can hammer them. It just becomes a math problem.
And you know what? I don't even know what it is that they're doing there. I know early in the war, there was lots of information that we had evacuated many of these bases. I guess we took some troops out, but obviously some are still there. And I've got to wonder, what are they doing there that they can't do literally anywhere else with technology, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the war, we started moving a lot of our troops away from the ones that were closer to Iran, like in Bahrain, Qatar, and in Kuwait as well. But we're still in Kuwait in some way, shape, or form. And we've moved a lot of our, I think, more critical assets further away. That's why the Iranians are showing us that, like, hey, you can move them to Jordan, but we can still reach them. Again, which is why the naval forces make me very nervous as well. So I agree with you. We proved with Midnight Hammer, and we've proved with the investments that we've made in over-the-horizon technologies and our ability to project force that we don't need to have our troops in these spaces. Even if your desire is to continue to show Iran every now and again that you can still strike them and to do meaningful strikes, we can launch those from out.
So the only reason that our troops are at those bases is to be bait, to be blown up by Iran, and then that to be used as an excuse. Well, we got to continue to escalate. Eye for an eye, head for an eye. Whole troops barracks over there are just being set up as sacrificial lambs. It's truly disgusting. Okay, let's take a break here now. We need a break from all this because it pisses me off to no end. They're getting ready to start the draft here. We need a comedy break. Here's a latest Lego video. And Simon sent me this one. He said, make sure you point out to the audience about they have little Marco in the hot tub here, as it's rumored he had homosexual adventures in his early days. Here's a Lego video mocking little Marco before we get back to some hard news for you.
Yeah, you already know who it is. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. Call it Legos, loudmouths, dumbass, you confused. Folks getting facts from Lego, not your losing news. Who's this little clown thinking he running the show? Narco, Ruby, little man, yeah, we already know. Trying to fly away, flapping them big floppy ears. Nah, surf them gas price waves, it's your career. You don't suffer cause you love being blissfully dumb. Just a little lapdog stuck under the loser's thumb. Think we don't know what goes down in that place. Got the loser yelling daily, screaming right in your face. Hey Gumbo, Ruby, time to settle the score. F-35 crashing straight to the floor. Was that built out of Lego, just a fantasy scene? With that MQ-9 burning on the radar screen. 5 fast systems, turning straight into rust. Where they built out of Lego, man, your logic is bust. That ain't wax, cause sleep and wipe right off the map. Was that built out of Lego, homie? Stop the cap. Now look at Tehran, millions marching the street. Were they Lego figures too, bringing that heavy heat? Living in a delusion, you would choke to the core. Go check on your troops, they sprinting out the door. Going AWOL from the camps, running far from the grid. Now they out here sponsoring a Lego vid. Got that Lego attention that you wanted to see. Run the boss man, little boy. Message from Zalfagari. Yeah. A message from Zalfagari. Stop the cap, Ruby, we done.
Little Narco. And we have a new one. We'll do 2, I guess. This is more Minecraft style. Empire of Dirt.
I watch the glowing screen to see the world again. My little boy asks why, I don't know what to say. The monsters in the suits are stealing every breath. I smile to hide the truth from this empire of death. How do I answer my precious son? Every child they break fades away when day is done, and they consume it all, this empire of dirt. How do I explain to you while the baby's hurt? The shadows now, I learn their every name. The men who kill for greed, the masters of the game. They think they sit unseen above the law and tears. I track them in the dark to end their reign of fears. How do I answer my precious son? Them pay for the tears you shed today. Promise you a world where children never hurt.
Because little Marco did make a reference to the Lego videos. Now that inspired them to start cranking them out. Now they're shifting here to the Minecraft style. All right. We needed that quick. I needed that break. Back to the hard news here. Deportation maxing, they say. We're not getting mass deportations. Last rough numbers like 370,000 this year deported. Nowhere near what the numbers we need. I'm not calling the feds. Got a tip, call ICE now. 866-DHS-2-ICE. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend calling the cops. They need to go do their damn job. They might come arrest you, shoot you. You know what I'm saying? The golden era of nuclear energy is here.
One of President Trump's core missions when he assumed the presidency was to unleash American energy dominance. We're going to have nuclear reactors critical by July 4 of this year.
Signed an order directing and approval of many new nuclear reactors. Here it is. It's phase one. Very big phase, very important phase.
This is a time when competition has finally come to this industry.
If we have thoughtful regulation and we get the bureaucracy out of the way, can the entrepreneurs make it happen? Yes, yes they can, and yes they will.
We're very much into the world of nuclear energy. The progress they've made with nuclear is unbelievable, and the safety progress they've made is incredible.
As I stand here today, we look to be on track to have 3 next-generation nuclear reactors running by July 4 of this year.
And they put all alternative breakthrough energy on the shelf, suppress it. Here's the 4. Leading the way this summer, 4 new test reactors authorized by the Department of Energy successfully reached criticality at a truly monumental achievement. Here they are, allegedly. What do they really do? They just make the water hot enough to spin. It's basically just boiling water to spin a big wheel, right? I'm sure they'll take the nuclear waste and dump it in our drinking water supply as they usually do. So that look forward to that in the near future from these criminals. There's a scourge of NDAAs surrounding data center development. Tech billionaires are getting local politicians to keep their projects a secret. People around the country are increasingly outraged to find that their politicians have signed onto agreements proposed by the oligarchs at Meta, Google, Anthropic, and other AI companies that allow tech giants to hold them to secrecy. That's what American democracy is about, right? Is you sign NDAs of secrecy with AI tech to build out technology. No, that's what fascism is, actually. Just watch this report out of More Perfect Union about it. And Trump yesterday was pumping the data center, said you shouldn't be against them. So he's all for it. So I guess there's no difference now between Trump and JD Vance. They're all in for scientific dictatorship, technocracy, the greater North America.
This is the data center right here. Yes, you're coming over right now. You see all the construction going on right here. Yeah. We don't know what kind of agreements that they're making. They won't let us know.
I'm in Boyce, Louisiana, and like many small towns across the country, it's the site of a massive data center. And like many of those projects, the whole thing was concealed from the public through the use of non-disclosure agreements, or NDAs. At a recent town hall with local officials and the data center company, people asked about the NDA.
Are there any elected officials here that did sign the NDA? Our politicians were elected to represent us, not to represent anyone.
I've been investigating NDAs in Louisiana.
They told me nothing.
So, I mean, you represent the district and they didn't tell you anything about the project? It's a district you represent and it's a very large development here. I'm just curious, what... Okay. He hung up on me.
But the practice of using NDAs to conceal data center deals is becoming more and more common across the country.
So you got NDAs here and NDAs in other places across the country.
Evidently, it's happening all over the country. And that's not what you call an open government right there. That's not transparency. It's the opposite of that.
We're facing a crisis with corruption, not just here, but everywhere.
Did you know anything about it before it showed up?
No one has sent a note to me telling me to know nothing.
All of a sudden, there's this big white tent, bulldozers and everything.
What are your concerns about lack of transparency here with this project?
To not give us the opportunity to voice our opinions until after everything's signed, sealed, and delivered.
Water use, electric use, I'm concerned about. Utility bills going out. If it puts out a background hum, vibrations, it would affect the bees.
Who are they to decide that they can make these decisions in secret, of which I have no idea what informed your decision-making process, and now I have to live with the consequences?
I talked to the executive director of the Industrial Development Group that negotiated the deal to get this data center here.
And NDAs are not illegal, okay? So you're not going to change my mind on NDAs. So we're done. If you want to keep harping on NDAs, that's it.
I wonder, how do you react to that?
It's insane. Ultimately, we were robbed of any input, and every single person should have a problem with that.
A recent Gallup poll shows 70% of Americans are against AI data centers in their communities. That's why tech companies like Amazon, Meta, xAI, and Anthropic are using NDAs to hide information about the projects from the public, projects that will directly affect their communities, until the deal is already done and there's nothing the community can do about it. What does it say to you, this moment where you have so many people with different views who maybe wouldn't agree on anything else, coming together and really being on the same team when it comes to this project and the NDAs around it?
All of us have to deal with these things. This is where we have to live. This is where our children are. This is where our families are buried, where we were probably going to be buried. This is our home.
And I'll have no problem desecrating your graves as well. Microsoft's plan for its new AI personal assistant is to, quote, make people addicted to the tool, according to an internal Microsoft strategy document obtained by 404 Media. This new AI assistant is called Scout. And Microsoft describes it as an always-on personal agent integrated into Microsoft 365. The internal document on Scout has 3 phases to its launch plan. The first phase is getting you addicted. You don't even hide it. They're running social engineering mind control programs through the AI. We reported yesterday AI psychosis causing youth using AI chatbots as therapists to commit suicide. Microsoft wants to make people addicted to its new AI assistant. Internal documents reveal. But isn't that what all, and they've gotten in trouble, Facebook, I know, for getting the youth addicted, right? I'll post the links if you want to read that whole story, or just go to 404 Media. You can find it. The links will be at Weaponized News Substack channel. Google's launching, and now they're all doing this biometric face scan. You got to do it. The feds did it. I saw it during tax season. People getting refunds, which is actually just the money they stole from you, right? But people getting tax refunds. The IRS no longer issues paper checks. They do it all electronically, and they make you do the biometric face scan to get the money they stole from you. And at some point in the future, they'll say, oh, you don't want to go die for Aardvark land or whatever BS they launch, and you go, well, I'm not going to comply with this tyranny. They go, well, guess what? The money we stole, we're not giving you jack back. That's setting up for all of this. Google's launching selfie for sign in, and new easy way to access your account with biometric face scan. Can't remember your password? Just scan your face in. Here you go. There you go. And of course, that'll never be abused and used against you. Guess who else is doing it? Meta's doing it as well. Meta's launching Facebook Verified, a free badge to verify there's a real person behind a profile with a biometric scan of your face. Here's that. They're all rolling it out in lockstep, almost like we're in one world government, scientific dictatorship, technocracy already. They're all working together in lockstep, as we saw during the bat times. They weren't able to get through their miracle passport during the bat times. Now they're rolling this out. It's all for your own good and for the children's safety, right? No, it's for complete and total control. Mark of the beast system. You don't comply, they lock you out. You starve and die, and you're put on the target to kill list by Palantir. The White House hoax dinner is going on right now, I guess. White House Correspondents' Dinner do-over. So that clown parade is going on right now, I guess. I hope they don't do another hoax. Hope they're all safe and fat and happy, lying criminal scum that they are. Don't threaten them. I'm telling you, they're provoking a response. They want the public to jump. You know what I mean? With all this tyranny, just don't comply, but don't threaten them. They'll throw the book at you. Okay, quickly, Bohemian Grove, where all the sick freaks meet up, right outside of San Francisco in the Bay Area. I used to know activists that went there and protest. I haven't talked to the guys in years, but I used to know a few fellows from the Bay Area that would go over there and protest. It wasn't that far for them. Still going on, Bohemian Grove. Couple reports out of local news here about Bohemian Grove. I just clicked off it. Excuse me. Let me go back to it. The Press Democrat here, they released a list of local residents there. Leaked list shows local roster of exclusive summer encampment where they're doing these mock human sacrifices. Some say they do real human sacrifices there as well. And what did Nixon say? It's something, to paraphrase him, a bunch of homos running around in the woods, something like this. Bohemian Grove has long been Sonoma County's secretive conduit to the world of the rich and powerful. The all-male Bohemian Club's annual summer encampment in the woods along the Russian River near Monte Rio has been a designation for former presidents, sitting senators, Supreme Court justices, White House cabinet members, foreign dignitaries, famed artists, athletes, and business titans from every imaginable industry. That's who runs the world, right? Essentially, the Bohemian Club is a private organization. The Press Democrat, their local paper, doing some reporting on it. Prominent members, past members, include Henry Kissinger, Jimmy Buffett, Michael Bloomberg, Charles Koch, Conan O'Brien, Oakland A's professional baseball owner John Fisher, and former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, amongst many, many others. The interest sparked by the recent leak has much to do with the mystique of Bohemian Grove. I remember, a couple months ago, they leaked a big old list. And of course, their famous motto, "Weaving spiders come not here," drawn from Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, urges members to leave the world of work behind, but it might apply just as aptly to the shroud of secrecy that surrounds the event. And then, of course, Alex Jones famously snuck in there, and there's video that he put out in a documentary showing the cremation of care. They're in the black robes with the big owl, right, doing this mock human sacrifice ritual. Others have snuck in there as well. And so, yeah, I don't know if we don't know any of these people. I'll put it up here on the screen though. These are locals identified by the Press Democrat. You can see right there. Names appear on the leaked list there. These are not like household names, but they're known in the Bay Area. So I'll just scroll through it here. You could see them again. I'll link up at Weaponized News Substack for those that want to do further research on the Bohemian Grove. This is a pretty good breakdown of the locals there that the Press Democrat is naming as attendees. right here. Grateful Dead drummer Mickey Hart pushing drugs on the youth via LSD and the merry band of pranksters and the CIA. Whole bunch of them, right? Those are the locals in the Bay Area attending the Bohemian Grove. And what else? There was some other, they were complaining, locals there were complaining that the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, temporarily shifted many outbound flights away from Redhead departure procedure, which routes low over West County communities, including Sebastopol, Occidental, Forestville, Monte Rio, and the Grove itself. This produced a 82% drop in Redhead flights during peak Grove periods, reducing noise over the encampment. So they diverted flights over the encampment to reduce airplane noise, and local residents are saying, why don't we get that same courtesy when flights are disrupting our peace over our heads in these local communities? One local resident, Linda Hopkins, criticized the change as appearing to prioritize the elite gathering. She said, honestly, it looks like corruption. It seems they can do it for the rich and powerful, but not the citizens of this county. Well, yeah, you're a piece of garbage. And the rich and powerful are there to sacrifice the kids and run around and do gay sex in the woods. So be aware, Bohemian Grove going on. Again, I'll put the links on Weaponized News Substack. All right, we're at the hour mark. Let's take our live commercial break here now. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button, please. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. We have holograph stickers over there, white background sticker, and the clear sticker. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Pick yourself up some stickers over there. The link's in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. We give away everything free there. We're streaming live on Substack. After the show, we'll put up a summary, a nice summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about there for your documentation and further research purposes. Weaponized News Substack. Become a paid subscriber. Help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time. Weaponized News Substack. Again, everything's free. You can go become a free subscriber as well. Nothing behind a paywall. But show some support for the efforts of Weaponized News. It is much appreciated. We also take donations as well. If you don't want to patron the store or become a paid subscriber, we take donations. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links are all in the description below this video. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. Again, give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that's free. All right. Thank you for bearing with me through that commercial message. Back to the show now. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this July 24th, 2026, Friday edition. And that reminded me, the date I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, as we've been reporting on all this week, taking a look back at our dark occultist satanic calendar, the week through July 20th through the 26th, leading up to the grand climax on July 27th, the dark occultist Satanist will be carrying out abductions in ceremonial preparation and holding of sacrificial victims for the grand climax. I don't know, maybe a human sacrifice at Bohemian Grove. So be aware that's going on this week. And the grand climax, July 27th. What will that be? That will be Sunday, right? No, that would be Monday. So thankfully, we'll be back, hopefully, on Monday to report about the grand climax. All right, back to the news here. Let me figure out where I left off, and we'll get right back into it. Here is, we're on to the Epstein files now. And I did a great report with Drew TV. Let me plug myself there again quickly. It's uploaded I uploaded it this morning to Weaponized News YouTube channel. You can find it over there. This big interview I did with Drew TV, the director of Jones Plantation. Let me find it here quickly again, and I'll give you the details. You can go to Weaponized News YouTube channel and find it. Go to Drew TV, all of his channels, and find it there. Here it is, just released yesterday, right there. And we go through a big old document I put together of the Epstein files for a deep dive into the Epstein files. Now back to current Epstein files news. So the DOJ's violating the law right now, not complying with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. They're a pack of criminals, but they scream law and order in our face all day. Here's Massey and Ro Khanna discussing Epstein Files Transparency Act 2. If they won't even comply with one, I don't get why we need another law. Arrest their ass. You're Congress. You know what I mean? Apparently Congress doesn't have any power. They're just puppets because they pass laws and the executive branch doesn't follow the freaking law. Here's Massey and Ro Khanna talking a little bit about it.
Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna back with us now. They are the bipartisan team behind the Epstein Transparency Act from April of last year, and you're now proposing a sequel in this, right? So what's new in this bill, and how is it different from your previous bill that the president signed into law?
Well, what we've noticed is the DOJ is just uninterested in prosecuting any of the men who've been exposed from the records. But we saw an attorney general in New Mexico who is ready to prosecute the crimes at Zorro Ranch, but he can't get the DOJ to cooperate. So what we did is we put in this bill the special ability for the Attorney General of New Mexico or any Attorney General from any state to get the documents from the DOJ so that they can prosecute the crimes that the DOJ won't.
So is that in a way a fix as you see it to the first bill?
It doesn't matter. They're not going to comply with Epstein Files Transparency Act 2. Here's a report from Becca Day. She's been following it and reporting extensively about the Epstein files. Let's hear a little bit about her reporting, updated reporting.
Okay, I don't think anyone realizes how big of a deal that it is that this specific recruiter for Jeffrey was just found no longer living in his Paris apartment today. Okay, Daniel Saeed, we have talked about this man before. He was a recruiter for Jeffrey, easily has some of the most egregious back and forths with Jeffrey within the files, like his commentary surrounding like the girls and the victims and the women is disgusting and deplorable and dehumanizing. The fact that Daniel is no longer alive means that every single individual who was involved in this specific conversation that we've talked about before, but we're about to review again, every single person who was involved in the conversation or mentioned in the conversation is no longer alive, other than Donald Trump. So if you haven't seen any of my other videos, really what you need to know is he was a recruiter for Jeffrey who was accused of R-word and rush houring by multiple different victims within Jeffrey's ring. Recently, within the last few weeks, Daniel Saeed sat down with CNN and basically tried to clear his name, which did not. It was a pathetic attempt in trying to clear his name. Let's be completely honest. Just to refresh your memory before we go over this conversation, here's Daniel Saeed with Woody Allen. Here's Daniel Saeed with Robert De Niro. And here is Daniel Saeed partying at Peter Nygard's estate in the Bahamas. And we've talked about Peter Nygard at length. We know that he had a very similar operation as Jeffrey going on. Here is Daniel Saeed in Dubai with the former Prime Minister of Thailand. Here's an email between Sultan Ahmad bin Salam and Jeffrey. We've also talked about Sultan Ahmad bin Salam at length. We know that
He's all up in there, right? All up in the Epstein files, mentioned thousands of times. But he was 69 years old. I mean, there is that as well. We covered his death. Unusual how a Trump attorney became interim dean of FIU's up-and-coming law school. Miami Herald. It is unusual. White House responds to Reacher star Alan Richardson's scathing rant over Epstein files. I would get those files out in 2 seconds, the actor vehemently declared. Effing move out of the way. Reacher star Alan Richardson got fired up while discussing politics during an appearance on Happy, Sad, Confused podcast. The actor slammed effing PDFs over the government's mishandling of the Epstein files. The White House provided a statement in response. He's been totally exonerated on anything relating to Epstein, talking about Trump. Trump exonerated himself. He's not exonerated Jack. They're covering it up, and we have a DOJ that refuses to look into anything. How's he exonerated? It's complete and utter bullshit. Trump just comes out and says, it's a Democrat hoax. I'm exonerated. Really, bro? You're all up in there. You're all up in there. All up in the Epstein files. Give me a friggin' break. Trump's guilty as sin here. And you start looking at, oh, yeah, he has all these hotels. He runs these beauty pageants. We've come to learn that the fashion industry, the modeling industry is a big pipeline into all these trafficking, honeypot, intelligence setup operations. Yeah, Trump's all up in it. You better believe it. That's why the massive cover-up campaign is ongoing. And we'll continue to report every broadcast on the Epstein files as the story continues to develop. Again, for the deep dive, right here on Drew TV or Weaponized News. It's almost 3 hours long. We take a look at the emails, connect the dots, expose a bunch about it. The dark occultism, transhumanism, torture, and all of the gory details there per the Epstein files. All right, on to the economic section of the show. David Ellison's Paramount has agreed to freeze its $110 billion merger with Warner Brothers Discovery as a dozen U.S. states seek to block one of the largest Hollywood deals in history on antitrust grounds, according to the Financial Times. Federal officials acknowledged in court documents that they canceled grants to states that didn't vote for President Trump in 2024, according to the New York Times. And we're seeing the same reports about disaster aid. They're pulling the same thing that Biden administration did, right? And so there's no difference. They're targeting their political enemies through weaponization of federal money. And same thing Biden administration. They're no difference. The government is corrupt beyond recognition. They represent their own self-interest, not the American people. They all need to be dragged out. Where are all the big, where's the freaking, it just pisses me off. We know where they are. They're order follower, mind control, just weaklings. Where's all the tough U.S. Marshals, FBI, Army, all the big boys with the big guns? There's the criminals, bro. The guy's giving you the orders. Regardless of Republican or Democrat administration, again, the government is an organized crime syndicate. And I don't give a damn what label you put on it, red, white, and blue, and all the other bullshit. That's who they are. A pack of criminals running racketeering operations against the American people. Go arrest them, law enforcement. You won't, because you're a bunch of cowards. You're a bunch of mind control, order following slaves. New Jersey bans grocery stores from using shoppers' personal data to set prices. That's probably good. Probably good. Claude's latest model, Opus 5, has been released through Anthropic. The Stop Insider Trading Act doesn't actually stop insider trading. Members of Congress can still own and sell stocks and make decisions affecting their stock portfolios, according to Citizens for Ethics. And I always have to point out, having ethics is now considered a conspiracy theory because they have no ethics. They're insane criminals. Japanese retail traders have built their largest net short position against the US dollar since records began in 2008, according to Bloomberg. The Treasury market looks healthy, but underneath, a combustible mix is brewing. The US is issuing record debt into the market, increasingly unfriendly to profit-led governments, according to the Wall Street Journal. It's getting harder to sell our debt here now, and then we have to pay higher interest rates, which we can't afford. The minimum wage is now the lowest it's been in 70 years. I would add federal minimum wage, the lowest it's been in 70 years, according to Fortune magazine. In San Francisco, even $180,000 tech salaries are no longer enough to live on, according to the New York Times. Imagine that. Oh, you made it. You made it big, bro. You're making 180 grand a year. It's a nice little salary. Well, it turns out I'm living in my van in San Francisco because I can't afford anything because the cost of living is so freaking high. That's quite literally insane. $180,000 and you can't even make a living in San Francisco. There's no inflation. It's 2%, according to the Federal Reserve, right? Over 440,000 people, or more than 1,200 a day, became millionaires in the U.S. last year in 2025, accounting for nearly half of the world's new millionaires, according to the Wall Street Journal. Home ownership has become far more expensive since 2019, with emergency repairs up 175%, maintenance up 85%, insurance up 72%, interest up 35%, property taxes up 31%, and principal payments up 22%, according to the Wall Street Journal. There's no inflation. We're in the golden age of the Trump economy here. Everything's wonderful. Keep smoking the devil's lettuce that gives you diarrhea if you believe this bullshit. No Amazon or gig workers are turning now. See, there's a big revelation. I've seen a bunch of people posting, oh my God, this has been going on a long friggin' time. It's called a welfare state. I work with plenty of people that I was like, bro, you need to ask for a raise. You need to move on up. You know what I mean? You've been at the company, you've been working hard, this, that, and the other. And they're like, no, I don't want a raise. I don't want to make more money because I'm on the welfare state. I'm on all these different, I got kids, I got different, all these different welfare programs coming in. And if I actually strive to be successful, i.e. translated into a higher salary, that's going to push me out of welfare benefits. I don't even want it because my welfare benefits are greater than the little, 50 cents an hour raise I would get. You see? Thank you very much, welfare state, for disincentivizing success in this country. And they know what they're doing. Now this report out of CNN, they've been doing it for years and years and years. Years and years and years. Okay, I've seen it personally at my own employment. Okay, CNN now says more Amazon and gig workers are turning to SNAP and Medicaid to make ends meet. I'm telling you, the welfare state incentivizes not being successful in terms of your freaking salary or hourly wage. A growing number of Amazon and gig economy workers earn so little that they rely on public assistance to put food on the table and obtain health coverage. Again, you don't even want health coverage from the Rockefeller medicine system. That's hard to get through Democrat lefties' heads. But trust me, you don't want this. They sold you a bill of goods. I figured this out almost 20 years ago here now, working as an accountant in public health, that it's a giant scam, scheme, fraud job that they pull on you, especially the youth, that you definitely don't need health coverage because you're healthy. They want to try to get you in Rockefeller medicine, hooked on it, and act like it's some big accomplishment in your life if you have health insurance. It's a giant freaking scam, okay? Anyway, continuing with this, a Government Accountability Office study released Wednesday found the report said, the report is yet another example of the quote affordability crisis affecting many in the United States, where even some employed Americans needed government help to pay for basic needs like food and healthcare. The number of Amazon employees receiving food stamps and Medicaid in September nearly tripled since the GAO's previous report in 2020, according to Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. I can't do the Bernie impression, sorry, but yeah, let's get the oligarchs. But when Democrats are in charge, there's no oligarchs. It's just, come on, dude. You've been over and got reamed by Hillary Clinton. Bernie won too. They rigged it against Bernie in 2016. And he bent over for Hillary. So there you go. A great populist left winger, Bernie Sanders. Cuck, clown, con man, criminal, actually. They all are. Nearly 12,350 Amazon staffers were enrolled in food stamps, and nearly 11,350 were covered by Medicaid in the state's GAO assessment report. Meanwhile, rideshare and delivery companies are now among the top employers of recipients in the two safety net programs in several states. Yeah, it's a subsidy for these corporations exploiting the workers. But again, the whole healthcare is a canard because it's a giant fraud scheme scam. You don't want part of this Rockefeller medicine system, I'm telling you. So that's a big old dupe job. But putting food on the table is not a big old dupe job. You do need to eat, but you can get $50 off your GL1P inhibitors. Ozempic from TrumpRx.gov. Don't forget that. So when you get hungry, just shoot up that synthetic Gila Monster venom, and you won't be hungry anymore. And so that's another gift from the health department and Trump to subsidize hunger in America. But yeah, they're subsidizing these big companies, offsetting same routine, right? Privatize the gains and socialize the losses. And so the executives and shareholders can profiteer handsomely while the workers are on welfare, and the American taxpayer foots the bill, i.e. corporate welfare via another route. The welfare state incentivizes low salaries, low hourly wages. All right. The European Union is at it again. This is a Trump post. The European Union is at it again, as usual, taking direct aim at great American companies after having fined Apple for no reason at all, $15 billion, Meta, $3 billion, Amazon, $2.5 billion, and many others. We have just been informed that Google, a truly advanced and amazing group, deep not even deep state, just government, right? Founded by DARPA. They leave that part out. Has been fined yet another $1 billion without explanation. This brings the Google total to over $18 billion. This illegal and highly discriminatory practice started at these high levels during the first year of Sleepy Joe Biden's administration, but it's not going to continue during the Trump administration because we stand up for our government, public, private, technocracy, corporate, fascist, scientific dictatorship. Trump stands up for that. I want you to know. The United States of America is not a piggy bank for Europe, nor will we allow it to be. Please let this truth serve to represent that we will immediately initiate a 301 investigation into the practice of, quote, robbing American companies and, in turn, the American taxpayer. Trump's the only one robbing us here now, and the welfare state. The European Union will pay a very big price for this illegal and highly unethical conduct. There's Trump goes again with conspiracy theories, acting like there's ethics in government. There's not, which I have consistently warned them about. The penalties will be entirely reversed, and we anticipate a substantial tariff to be placed on them at the earliest possible moment. Stay tuned. Wow, very exciting. We American taxpayers see jack out of it. We'll see prices increase, and these companies will probably get some type of concessions out of all of this. On to Canada. I saw, hopefully Snow's still with us there. Canada disinvited the United States of America to the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge, which is fine considering they are paying substantial tariffs to the United States. Another Trump post here. The original deal, terribly negotiated by a previous administration, no longer stands. We changed the terms, so the United States now gets 50% of the profit. Art of the deal, art of the con job, because Trump doesn't honor his deals. He didn't honor the MOU with, he doesn't honor any of his deals. He's a lying criminal. He's a lying criminal. Washington slaps tariffs on 60 nations, citing forced labor. The country's targeted account for 99% of all U.S. imports, with rates set to 10 to 12.5%. And of course, the companies don't pay this. They pass the cost on to the consumer. It's a hidden tax now on American consumers. We do appreciate the efforts to bankrupt the average American by Trump and the rest of his administration. So yeah, that's very exciting. Here's the workaround now. The weaponization of the tariffs of the Smoot-Hawley, right? It's all the way back to 1930. Trump weaponized century-old laws to revive global trade wars despite Supreme Court ruling. Following the Supreme Court ruling blocking key executive powers, President Trump is deploying obscure 1930s legal provisions to sustain a sweeping global tariff strategy. Remember the first time around, Howard Lutnick, our Commerce Secretary, overestimated the tariff costs on purpose, bet against it, and then profiteered handsomely? Remember all that? Should be in prison for the rest of his life for that crime alone, for straight up stealing from the American people? The maneuver allows the White House to maintain hundreds of billions of dollars in annual trade duties. Bypassing judicial constraints, the judicial decision invalidating reliance on the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977 merely shifted executive strategy toward alternative signatory tools. Financial estimates suggest these revived mechanisms will generate between $240 billion and $260 billion annually, recovering 80% of previous revenue projections. Among these rediscovered instruments is Section 338 of the 1930 Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. He's weaponized the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act now, deployed this week to hit Canada with 50% duties. This is possibly the new IPA, noted Sarah Bersini, a former Biden administration official, now with Everscore ISI, highlighting potential expansions targeting the European Union. Signatory repurposing. The administration's operational playbook relies on repurposing legacy legislation originally drafted for vastly different economic concerns. Section 122, enacted for fixed exchange balance of payments crises, now underpins temporary universal levies, while Section 232 national security mandates have been stretched to encompass generic pharmaceuticals. Furthermore, Section 338, historically designed to secure non-discriminatory treatment for American exports, is being weaponized against trade partners acting in response to early U.S. tariffs. John Vernew, a former Bush administration trade official, characterized this application of the 1930 statute as ironic, if not perverse, given existing North American trade agreement terms. Yeah, I thought Trump said he wasn't going to re-up the USMCA. Legislative friction and geopolitical leverage, the aggressive usage of delegated executive authority has reignited domestic political opposition over constitutional powers governing taxation and commerce. It's well past time to put Congress back in the driver's seat on trade, stated Senator Ron Wyden during a Senate Finance Committee hearing addressing executive branch overreach, simultaneously pending legislation backed by the late Senator Lady Lindsey Graham threatened to grant the White House broader discretion to substitute tariffs for conventional geopolitical sanctions. Trade experts warn the proposed legislation shifts allow selective enforcement while expanding presidential trade leverage under the guise of national security. That's a report out of the Wall Street Journal. China denounces unilateral U.S. tariffs, saying trade wars serve neither party. China dismissed a fresh round of unilateral U.S. tariffs earlier today, with Foreign Minister spokesman Lin Jian telling reporters in Beijing, "We oppose all forms of unilateral tariffs," adding that trade wars do not serve either of the world's two largest economies. Washington announced the duties on imports from 60 trading partners, accusing them of failing to keep goods made with forced labor out of international trade. Now we're big on child labor. Really? Total BS. The tariff set between 10 and 12.5% took effect 12:01 a.m. Eastern time today and replaced Trump's temporary 10% global tariff, which expired at the same moment. So it just replaced it essentially here now. The Office of U.S. Trade Representative said Trump's new tariffs cover trading partners that account for 99.4% of U.S. trade. China, Japan, Australia, South Korea, New Zealand, and India are among those targeted by these latest trade tariffs. So, and again, that's the cost is all going to be passed on to the U.S. consumer. So we're not hurting bad enough over here through inflation, through the high price of fuel. Now they're hitting us with another hidden tax on U.S. tariffs. F you, Trump, and all you criminals. Impeach Trump's ass now. China's added 14 more EU entities to its export control list, banning exports of Chinese dual-use goods to them with immediate effect in response to the EU's latest sanctions on Russia. The newly restricted EU companies include Germany's Rheinmetall and Poland's Vigo Photonics. So yeah, we're in a global trade war. We're in a bunch of wars, actually. We cover here at Weaponized News in depth. Continuing here, Trump has shifted from privately weighing J.D. Vance against Marco Rubio to openly backing Vance. So there you go. There's no question now. They're all on board with one world government, scientific dictatorship, technocracy, the global technate. We're building out our own region here, the greater North America. There you go. Everybody's lined up on board. There's literally no difference. So impeach Trump, put in Vance. It's literally the same puppet with a different mask. And I see all the right-wing, quote, alternative media. Well, Vance is our guy now. Really? You're a bunch of clown fools that sold us Trump. F off, losers. Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon don't want to know the real cost of this war with Iran. They initially claimed it would cost between $25 and $29 billion. More Perfect Union took a second look at it. Let's take a look at their video. They're multiplying it by 34 times, and they're estimating the cost at nearly $1 trillion. I don't know if I'll go that high yet. Let's take a look at this report from More Perfect Union. But I do like the high numbers. We might as well pump it up to $1 trillion. What the hell?
The Iran war could cost 34 times what Pentagon officials have admitted so far. We did the math, since Pete Hegseth clearly didn't. Stick with me. The ceasefire between the US and Iran fell apart, and Trump is declaring this a new conflict, which means he gets 60 more days before he needs to ask Congress for permission for the war. Hegseth originally said the war would cost about $25 billion, then he said $29 billion. Now he's asking for $90 billion more. So now seems like as good a time as any to check in on the total cost of this war, because we've been talking to the experts and they think the Pentagon is doing some serious accounting tricks to make this war look cheaper than it really is. Here's how. First, the Pentagon usually only reports direct costs of the war. How much fuel did we spend? How much did we pay the deployed troops? But they ignore the hidden costs. Those costs are things like long-term veterans' health care and disability benefits. For perspective, we're still paying veterans' costs for World War II. The second trick they use is financing the war with debt, but ignoring the cost of interest. In the past, when the US went to war, it would typically raise taxes to finance that war. But we don't do that anymore. Instead, we take on debt to pay for war, which means the government also pays more and more interest. That interest is a cost of the war that they will never include in their estimates, and it's costly. Third, they ignore cost increases. The war with Iran is using a lot of missiles that the US bought years ago. Years ago, those missiles were cheaper, but inflation, supply shocks, and defense industry price gouging have shifted up those costs. So when the US goes to replace that missile, it will cost significantly more to buy the second time around. A Tomahawk missile cost $2 million when the US stockpiled them most recently, but they cost somewhere between $3 and $5 million today. Fourth, and finally, there is an infrastructure cost that they are ignoring or hiding. Estimates of the cost of the war aren't considering the cost to repair US bases that have been damaged, probably because they don't want to admit to the damage at all. All these blind spots and omissions, they add up. It's why a lot of people balked at Hegseth's initial estimate that the war would cost just $29 billion. And it's why experts are saying that over the next decade, this war will cost the US closer to $1 trillion. You might think that $1 trillion sounds like a lot, a far-fetched figure, but I would point you to these estimates for previous wars that the US fought in the region. And remember, Hegseth and Trump now want an additional $90 billion in funding for the Pentagon on top of the $1.5 trillion 2027 defense budget, the biggest in history. Funny how quickly this all starts to add up.
Maybe $1 trillion is not that much. They're debasing the currency faster than they can print it, as fast as they can print it. So, yeah, probably be over $1 trillion. The cost of a gallon of gasoline well above $4 on this Friday, July 24th, according to AAA. We're at $4.11 per gallon of gasoline. You can see right here. They're killing us in California. We're at $5.60. Diesel well above $7. And so, yeah, it's horrific for the economy. And again, the price is going to pass through to the consumer, as with the tariffs and so on. So we're going to be continue to pay higher grocery bills and all of your other staple goods you need to live in this country. The Brown University Watson School of International and Public Affairs energy consumer cost burden of the Iran war. We got a 33 columns again. $73.3 billion you can see right there. And then the per household cost spread across both gasoline and diesel, $559.92 since the beginning of the Iran war, February 28th, 2026. CNN finally caught up. Regular listeners know I've been reporting on this since the beginning of the war. I forget exactly which day, but as soon as I saw their tracker come online, I started reporting on it. So here's CNN reporting on it as well now.
According to AAA, the national average price for a gallon of regular gas this morning is $4.11. That's up more than $1.10 since the start of the war back in February. And look at this. Brown University now says the total consumer burden since the start of the war for gasoline and diesel alone is more than $73 billion and going up by the minute. All of this is having a massive impact on your wallet. CNN senior business reporter David Goldman is here to make it make sense for all of us. David, today's question.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Rockefeller oil oligarchs are price gouging the hell out of us at the pump here, as well as this engineered energy crisis, global energy crisis that is going to lead to a global famine. So that's what makes it make sense. Well, CNN's not going to tell you that much. I'm surprised they missed on the 33 columns, right? They do love those in your Mockingbird media. They missed that, surprisingly enough. So, yeah, it's blocked. The Strait of Hormuz, the whole area. We keep covering it right here. It's blocked. The Houthis in Yemen are in a war with Saudi Arabia now. So this little strait right here, blocked by the Houthis into the Red Sea. And then, of course, the Strait of Hormuz blocked by both Iran and America. Saudi-flagged oil chemical tanker NCC MASA was hit while sailing in the Red Sea today, sustaining minor hull damage, but continuing to its destination with crew safe. It's the second Saudi-linked tanker hit in days after the Insilia strike, part of the Houthis' declared blockade on Saudi shipping. Saudi Arabia strikes Yemen's Hadoudiha as confrontation with Ansarallah Houthi escalates. Saudi Arabia carried out a series of airstrikes on Yemen province earlier today, according to Houthi TV. Al Masari TV, marking a sharp escalation. So yeah, they're in a war right here now. Blocking. Everything blocked here. There's guns pointed everywhere. You want to drive through there? You might get shot in the face by Iran. Might get shot in the face by America up here. Down here, you might get shot in the face by Saudi Arabia or Yemen or the Houthis in Yemen or America or Iran, for that matter. They're not putting on an active blockade here, but hey, everybody's out there swinging big guns around. That's for sure. Ships are getting hit, sinking, ongoing attacks on commercial shipping throughout the area, throughout the entire region. Yemen's Houthi spokesperson, Saudi aggression now targets the port of Hudayha. They have opened the gates of divine hell upon themselves. Here's a still image. You can see off in the distance the damage going on there. And there you go. We have any more about that? Oh, the Houthis did put out a video here. Let's watch this. Yemen's Ansarallah Houthi armed forces in response to Saudi aggression put out a escalation for escalation. That's in the title here now. Escalation for escalation video.
المنشآت النفطية السعودية والمنشآت الحيوية بهدف صواريخنا وطائراتنا المسيرة ورط نفسه في العدوان الشامل على بلدنا واتجه بالتصعيد بدلا من أن يحترم نفسه وأن يكف عن حصارنا.
Yeah, they're all pissed off at Saudi Arabia, so they're at war. There. Less than 24 hours after the U.S. Saudi Arabia signed a civilian nuclear agreement, I think we covered this yesterday, Trump effectively put it on hold by adding a new condition. Saudi Arabia must first join the Abraham Accords and normalize relations with Aardvark land. The reversal was driven by several factors. Trump was angry that Energy Secretary Chris Wright announced the deal without informing him first. The White House viewed the agreement as premature, arguing it was not finalized because required notifications to Congress had not yet been sent. Like they give a damn about that. It's all for Aardvark land, obviously. That's who runs America. Gulf nations eye massive debt surge in fund Strait of Hormuz alternatives. They're trying to find a way around there to get their goods to market, and funding pipelines, funding different railway, building roads, all this different type of ways to ship their petroleum out of there, dodging all of the bullets flying there. Persian Gulf oil exporters are seeking record debt financing to construct costly transit alternative routes around the Strait of Hormuz as the war drags on. And now, sadly, here, massive fires in France. Here's some video of some wild animals fleeing the biblical blaze in France. Then we have some more images out of France here now, and the giant apocalyptic wildfire rips through France. 19,000 hectares burned. 141,000 French evacuated. No audio, but you can see the massive fires going on there. So we just had massive fires up in Canada, right now in France. West Bank's on fire. That's due to ultra-Zionist settlers' arson. We'll get to that at the end of the show. California has a couple fires over here, but we're used to it in our fire season. They don't manage the forest. You got they're spraying glyphosate all over the place. You got the fallout from the you got heavy metal fallout from the chemtrails. And they don't manage the forest, so they burned a lot of our forest right up east of me in the Sierra Nevadas. There's no more to burn even because we had our apocalyptic, like 4-5 years ago? I forget even now, but it was really bad. You'd go outside and there's ash in the air, ash all over your vehicle in the morning after the night of fires. And I drove up there afterwards. It burned the hell out of all those trees. You know what I mean? Shut down the logging industry here due to the spotted owl, which burned up in the fire as well. And yeah, so just a giant disaster. Part of UN Agenda 2030 as well, trying to get rural mountain people living in the forest off the land by literally burning them out. Ecuador prosecutor investigating U.S. military boat strikes and torture was assassinated by a hitman. An Ecuadorian prosecutor investigating extrajudicial assassinations by the U.S. military, Southcom. We have reported on that quite extensively here. She was whacked by a hitman. U.S. military boat strikes and severe torture allegations against U.S. forces has been shot dead in the coastal city of Manta, Ecuador. So no good deed will go unpunished. She's now whacked by a hitman. Kiev attacks warehouse of wild berries online marketplace. We've been reporting on that. So it's just reported out of RT. They got a map to give us a better idea about these attacks.
Latest victims of Ukraine's drone attacks are in the Leningrad region, where 4 people were wounded, according to the local governor. There was also damage to an online marketplace warehouse, yet another one in a string of Ukrainian attacks against a company called Wildberries. Now, just to give you an example of what kind of business that is, well, it's more commonly known as Russia's Amazon or AliExpress. Now, Zelensky said that the company and its warehouses in Russia are Kiev's legitimate targets, basically admitting that his regime is indeed involved in terrorism. His claim was that the warehouses that were attacked were used to supply the Russian army. According to Zelensky, Wildberries knowingly stored sanctioned components for the production of drones, navigation equipment, ammunition, and etc. and etc. Now, once again, the business of Wildberries is identical to that of Amazon, AliExpress, or, well, any other Western or Chinese marketplace in Europe. The only difference is that while those other marketplaces really do sell goods like drones and fiber optics, Wildberries are mostly about clothing, footwear, household and beauty products that are primarily bought by women with children. Moreover, infrastructure of Wildberries revolves around the business of hundreds of thousands of sellers, and not only from Russia. Entrepreneurs from countries like Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan use Wildberries warehouses to develop their light industry and sell their goods from to each other, like from Kazakhstan to Armenia, for example. So these terrorist attacks on civilian facilities are not only an attack on Russians, but also an attack on the business interest of at least a dozen countries.
Part of the war. Strikes in Russia, Ukraine, kills 17 Russians. This most recent big attack. A Russian missile attack killed 6 people and wounded dozens others in Kiev. Earlier today, Zelensky said, while a separate strike on Donetsk city killed 5 and injured 9. Ukraine strikes on Russia's Kirov region killed 6 and injured 26 at a factory earlier today. The region's governor said Kiev is continuing to target Wildberries warehouses, continuing a campaign against the Russian e-commerce giant that began last week. Here's a crazy one. They got air defenses on their Wildberries warehouses now. Watch this video. They take out the drone right before it crashes into it. Suicide drone right there. Boom. Yeah, there you go. You're not blowing up that Wildberries warehouse with that drone, at least. Zelensky said, we know from intelligence reports and our partners that the Russians are preparing missiles for a massive attack on Ukraine. You don't need intelligence. Russia said it. We've been, and what do you think? What do you think? I mean, it's ridiculous. And Russia said they're going to retaliate, obviously, on these attacks deep inside Russia, away from the front line fighting. They're in the illegal, was it unprovoked invasion by Putin, right? So, yeah, expect a major retaliatory attack by Russia. Laura Loomer, what do they call her? The Saw woman or whatever. It's a freak show. Warmonger, ultra-Zionist, psycho crazy lady. She interviewed Zelensky and she asked him, she said, would you be willing to sign a peace deal with Russia in the Oval Office? Zelensky said, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to come to the Oval Office or Mar-a-Lago for the peace deal. It depends on Trump. Putin said, go to Moscow. They've been talking. They've been talking this for a very long time, and I got my hopes up for a minute. I was like, nah, this is all BS. You know what I mean? I got my hopes up they would have a peace deal and end this senseless war, but not looking good now. With all these attacks now on Russia petroleum facilities, now they're targeting their Wildberries, right? And they're targeting targets deep inside Russia. So creating actually a fuel shortage there in Russia. Now Russia's trying to cover up the fact that they're suffering from these Ukrainian attacks and suffering a fuel shortage as well here now. So my hopes for peace here are not high. And it's essentially NATO and America via proxy Ukraine striking Moscow. It's quite horrific. Venezuela has formally notified the United Nations that of its irrevocable decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. So now, after kidnapping Maduro, America's made Venezuela essentially a vassal puppet state, part of the greater North America project. So we love Venezuela now loves aardvark genocide. ICC member states voted to dismiss prosecutor Karim Khan, with 82 of the 125 countries supporting his removal over alleged sexual misconduct. According to Reuters, they kicked this guy out. They kicked him out. Aardvark Land's taking credit for the removal against the backdrop of the dismissal of International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan. A senior Aardvark Land official said that Aardvark Foreign Minister Gideon played an active role in efforts to advance his dismissal. India's government has asked until Saturday afternoon to respond to protesters' demand that Education Minister Pradhan resign over exam paper leaks. Protesters also want changes against demonstrations dropped and charges against demonstrators dropped and compensation for the families of students who reportedly died by suicide after the leaks. If the resignation demand is rejected, organizers say they will escalate nationwide protests. What do they call it? The cockroach movement, something like this. The youth in India are now causing massive disruptions, part of the cockroach movement there. At least 21 civilians were killed and 300 injured Tuesday when a drone believed to be belonging to UAE-backed genocidal rapid support forces struck a water hub in Tina locality of northern Darfur. I think we reported on that already. There's a genocide going on in Darfur, in Sudan, backed in large part by the UAE. They're using Colombian mercenaries, I've seen. They're using, obviously, the rapid support forces, and they're murdering a bunch of people. They're in the Sudan and northern Darfur. Possible U.S.-Lebanon bilateral security framework in sight after a noon Trump meeting. According to Washington bureau chief for Bloomberg, Trump and Lebanese President Anoun have moved to formalize bilateral security frameworks. Sources indicate the two leaders agreed to launch direct talks aimed at establishing a long-term strategic defense pact alongside restoring direct commercial flights between Washington and Beirut. According to the high-level diplomatic engagement package, included expanding U.S. military assistance and capability support to reinforce the military's role, exploring options for future monitoring agreements, including the potential expansion or adoption of the current UN UNIFIL mandate, advancing efforts to identify new investment opportunities for U.S. companies in strategic Lebanese sectors such as energy, telecommunications, and digital transformation, collaborating with international partners to support Lebanon's reconstruction and long-term economic recovery. They haven't even stopped leveling the place yet. And then here's Gorka. I hate this dude, Sebastian Gorka. He's a real piece of garbage. He's praising now the puppet president of Lebanon. Sebastian Gorka, deputy assistant to U.S. President Donald Trump and senior director for counterterrorism, praised Lebanese President Joseph Anoun noting that Anoon was an exceptional student during his time at Department of War counterterrorism fellow at the National Defense University. So yeah, he's a straight up U.S. puppet there in Lebanon. Speaking in Beirut at the, quote, Rebuilding Water Justice in Lebanon Governance Accountability and IFC conference hosted by the Arab Reform Initiative, hydrologist Dr. Amun El Haja reported that Aardvark Land is carrying out a systematic campaign to destroy Lebanon's vital water infrastructure. Where have we heard that? I don't know. All throughout history, aardvarks have a reputation of poisoning the well, although in this case, they just blow the well up. So, yeah. Let's see. Dr. Hajjah's findings verified that a total of 107 wells, 16 pumping stations, 185 water towers, and 43 kilometers of pipeline networks had been deliberately targeted, resulting in their destruction by bombing, bulldozing, or burning across Lebanon. Here's some of the images of the destruction. These are solar panels, part of their water infrastructure. You don't need those. We're the aardvarks. It's our thing. A big old bullet rocket hole in the side of that water tower. It's their thing to poison the well. And you see it here now once again. Earlier today, now being reported, let's just say in the last 24 hours, now Aardvark Land occupation forces have carried out a series of attacks across southern Lebanon, including a hostile drone dropping a sound bomb on the town of Mansouri and artillery shelling targeting Makabab, which sparked fires in local homes as well as the town of Tulini. Additionally, Aardvark Land explosions targeted the town of Taibeth and Tyre. And so here's some images of said demolition campaign. It's ongoing there. Thankfully, we're not seeing reports of stacking a bunch of Lebanese bodies at this point, as over 1 million Lebanese have been ethnically cleansed from southern Lebanon because they're leveling the joint. So either leave or die. SCO foreign ministers gather in Kyrgyzstan ahead of heads of state summit. The big SCO meeting over there with many BRICS countries. These guys. You got China, Russia, right there, the big dogs at this SCO meeting. Foreign ministers of Shanghai Cooperation Organization member states wrapped up their 2-day meeting there. Old Iran foreign minister Argachai was there as well, rubbing elbows with his allies. SCO emerging as a pillar of multipolar world, according to Russia Foreign Minister Lavrov. Comments he made at the meeting. They keep trying to build something to counter the Anglo-American establishment. Trump said thank you to Bulgaria is now announced they'll allow America to use its bases to go ahead and bomb Iran. So we're using Bulgarian bases. Bulgaria backs Trump approves U.S. air base support despite Iran's threats. Right there. So we're launching attacks out of Bulgaria now. Greece's National Security Council approved a procurement worth up to $4 billion yesterday for a multi-layered Aardvark Land air defense network called Achilles Shield, one of the largest arms deals in the country's history. The system integrates 3 Aardvark land platforms, Raphael's David Sling, and long-range missile defense, Aardvark land aerospace industries, Barak MX for medium range, and Raphael's Spider for short range. Defense Minister out of Greece, Diana, said it will be fully operational within 35 months, with Greek firms manufacturing at least a quarter of it. The purchase sits within a broader $5.5 billion package that also includes Aardvark land and U.S. drones, transport aircrafts, and special operations vehicles, part of a roughly $32 billion Greek military modernization drive through 2036. The deal deepens years of expanding Greece Aardvark land defense ties, which include an Aardvark-run air training center in southern Greece and regular joint exercises. It funnels billions to Aardvark land state-owned arms makers, whose systems include David Sling, were used in Aardvark land's recent war on Iran and its campaign in Gaza. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem issued a security alert warning Americans in Aardvark land of potential for unseen escalation. Citizens are told to prepare for flight cancellations, airspace closures, and travel disruptions, and to know where their nearest shelter is. I guess you got to travel to Aardvark land to get in a bomb shelter. Here in America, they just laugh in your face. Go die, American tax-paying slave. Iran's IRGC says it has destroyed the remaining structure of any Amazon data center. We reported on that earlier. It had previously targeted, claiming the facility played a key role in providing intelligence to the child-killing American military. That's from the IRGC, targeting essentially technocracy infrastructure, Amazon data center. Iran rapidly rebuilds military sites hit by U.S. Aardvark land attacks. And that's true. We saw them. They blew up a bridge. The next day, they built a road right around it and kept on trucking, right? And we saw them rebuild that one bridge at the beginning of this whole thing in like 3 days, that big old bridge. It was back up and running. Iran is swiftly rebuilding infrastructure destroyed by American Aardvark land bombing campaigns since the beginning of the war. Satellite image reported by the Wall Street Journal verifies the rebuilding. So it's like, what the hell, man? We going up. We're what, $1 trillion, whatever, just unseen, untold amounts paying for this war. We go blow it all up, and Iran's already rebuilt a bunch of their infrastructure. Like, what are we doing, bro? Seriously. We're going to get a bunch more U.S. troops killed and use that as an excuse why we need to continue bombing and then take a little break so they can rebuild and then go bomb that again. It's insanity. Now, we need to impeach Trump's ass now. He's not fit for duty. He's serving foreign interests. Shadow President Milei will travel to Washington on Monday at Trump's request to attend the funeral of Queen Senator Lindsey Graham. Imagine that. Talk about make you want to throw up. There's an up-close video. I'm not going to show it because they'll flag me probably for violence. Maybe they should. I don't know. But it's on the X. Anyway, Palestinian man shot in the head by ultra-Zionist Aardvark settlers. It's not that. It's pretty graphic. I won't show it to you. I'll link to it on Weaponized News Substack. But it's up close. Dude walking along. Boom. Right in the head. So it seems Aardvark land shifted their attention now to the occupied West Bank. Spokesman for Hamas, Qassam Brigades, said And we've been reporting on the provocation by the ultra-Zionist settlers led by Ben Gvir and others to provoke a response out of the Muslims by desecrating their third highest holy site, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And that's part of the whole end of days freaking fake prophecy from their evil gods, right? They're going to blow up the Al-Aqsa Mosque and build Solomon's third temple there to bring about the coming of the Aardvark Messiah. And the Christian Zionists believe somehow this is going to accomplish the return of Jesus, as if Jesus would approve of any of this. So spokesman from Qassam Brigades said, a salute of respect and honor to our steadfast people in the West Bank and its uprising youth who have struck blows against the occupation and confronted its gangs of settlers from Nablus to Jannah and Jerusalem, taking revenge for their Al-Aqsa Mosque, which groans under the burden of desecration by the most despicable of people. Yeah, they're doing Talmudic, dark occultist, satanic rituals at the Muslims' high holy site, doing everything they can to piss them off. Let this criminal enemy know that Alaska has men who will protect it. The Palestinians do not accept humiliation, and that the hearts of our young are boiling as they see Alaska being desecrated. That's the whole point. The West Bank being aardvarkized, its homes demolished and lands confiscated, and Gaza being slaughtered from vein to vein. The escalation of this aggression will bring it nothing but calamities. That's exactly what they want. We call all members of our people, our clans, and honorable members of the security forces to rise up in defense of their holy sites, their honor, and their land, and not allow outlaws to act with impunity. Let everyone know that our people's true battle with the occupation is in the occupied West Bank, and we are confident that it will be the key to achieving complete victory over this Nazi occupier. Aardvark Land Media has released the identity of Aardvark occupation soldiers killed during clashes in the village of Tel near Nablus earlier today. And so they're stacking Aardvark bodies too. Just stop it. They won't. They're possessed by evil. So they whacked this dude and this dude. Lieutenant Colonel Yavel Ezra, 27 years old, and Staff Sergeant Benyahu Mellet, 32 years old. Both were deployed to the area as local residents confronted an attack by Aardvark Land ultra-Zionist settlers, which resulted in the deaths of 4 Palestinians. Aardvark Land Minister Ben Gvir demands Gaza-style destruction across the occupied West Bank. Ben Gvir has publicly called for applying the catastrophic military devastation inflicted on Gaza to Palestinian towns and villages throughout the occupied West Bank. In a statement posted on social media, Ben Gvir declared that the communities connected to Palestinians who carry out attacks against aardvarks should be treated like Bnei Hanun in Gaza, demanding that the military issue orders to systematically demolish homes and seize lands as collective punishment. This rhetoric followed a security incident near the illegal Havat Gilad settlement in the northern occupied West Bank, where an Aardvark Land ultra-Zionist settler was killed and 3 others were wounded in a shooting. In the immediate aftermath, Aardvark Land forces and armed occupiers raided the nearby town of Tel, killing 4 Palestinians, according to Palestinian Health Ministry, which reported that 86 Palestinians have been killed in the territory since the beginning of this year. The occupied West Bank has experienced a severe escalation in military raids, mass arrests, and aardvark land ultra-Zionist settler violence since the onset of the genocidal war on Gaza in starting October 7, 2023. Official figures indicate that aardvark land forces and ultra-Zionist occupiers have killed 1,182 Palestinians and detained approximately 24,000 individuals across the territory during the ongoing terror campaign. There you go. Ben Gavir. Netanyahu and Katz order wide-scale assault on West Bank villages following that aforementioned incident. Shadow President Milei and War Minister Aardvark Katz ordered a wide-scale military assault on Palestinian villages across the occupied West Bank earlier today after a shooting near the illegal Havat Gilad settlement. And we just covered that. They also ordered the demolition of the home of the Palestinian accused of carrying out the shooting. Aardvark land occupation forces launched raids across the northwest bank, including large-scale incursions into Nablus. Aardvark Land Channel 13 reported that Palestinians seized the weapon of an ultra-Zionist settlement security officer before opening fire on the ultra-Zionist invading settlers. Following the announcement, Aardvark settlers attacked the nearby villages of Sarah and Ur-If, torching Palestinian homes and vandalizing property. Early Friday, 4 Palestinians were killed and 4 others wounded, 3 critically, during an attack by Aardvark land occupation forces and ultra-Zionist settlers on the town of Tel, southwest of Nablus. Yeah, more of the reports, they're ordering arson. They're saying go burn the place down. So the West Bank's on fire. We have some, I did see quite a few images. Let's see here. Yeah, here they are. Here's how to drop site some images of the ongoing arson attacks in the occupied West Bank by the ultra-Zionist settlers.
They are settlers, 100% Israeli settlers. I like to call them Israeli thugs. They were trying to burn me alive and burn the house, and while my husband and I inside it.
Across the occupied West Bank, Israeli settlers are burning Palestinians out of their homes, with more than 1,200 attacks documented just this year. That's an average of 6 a day. More than 20 Palestinians have been killed so far. In the village of Deir Dibwan, Palestinian-American citizen Maysoon Ali has added layer after layer of security to her home, but it hasn't stopped them.
Attacks happened multiple times. This time, they came prepared. They cut this and they went up sneakily. This is bulletproof, so they couldn't break it. If they broke it, the house would be gone. He was pouring the fluid everywhere. You're right there, and I was here. So I shut the door, went inside, and tried to put the shutter down.
How often are we seeing settler attacks here in Deir Dibwan?
Daily.
Deir Dibwan sits in Area C, which means it's under full Israeli military control. It also means that no Palestinian police, fire department, or authority can access it at all. And if the Israeli military does arrive, it's the settler arsonists that they protect, not the Palestinians being attacked.
These Israeli thugs, they're illegal settlements by the international law. They're illegal settlements by the Israeli law. The harassment is intensively accelerating. Every time they do something worse, and nobody's stopping them. I cannot defend myself. If anything happens to this thug, I'll be in prison while he's coming to kill me in my house.
Since October 2023, Israel's military has been arming settlers directly, recruiting them into reserve units and issuing them weapons, drones, and vehicles to patrol their own communities. Many of these weapons are supplied and funded by the US.
They have it in their head that they are above law and nobody's gonna stop them. They plan things. One of them, he did a video on the fence behind my house, pointing to my house and saying that, look at them, they're scared, they have fences, this is a sign from Torah that they will be gone and this land will be for us. After the incident happened, somebody had a pistol in his hand and he was waving to us because, you know, we were able to put the fire out, and he was like not happy that that's happened. The way he was acting and the way he was waving his pistol, it was like he's saying, we'll be back, we'll be back. He was right there. He was doing like this to me. Take my picture, I don't care.
Oh, but there's more. You can see here the arson campaign waged by the ultra-Zionist settlers. Short clip there. Fires continue to consume Palestinian homes in the village of Far Atta. You can see here in this clip. They're burning them out there. At least 7 Palestinians were wounded, including 4 by live fire and 1 who was wounded critically, while their homes and agricultural land were set on fire in the occupied West Bank. An armed ultra-Zionist settler incursion into Palestinian villages ended in 4 Palestinians killed. You can see the image here. And again, there's really good video, but I don't want to show it because I'm sure they'll flag me, of them walking up, shooting dude right in the head, point blank, basically. More video of the ongoing arson campaign. I'm sure they'll just call it climate change, right? Some nighttime footage of the arson campaign in the occupied West Bank. There you go. How much more do we have here? Aardvark forces raided Nablus Specialized Hospital and stormed its emergency department, forcing doctors, nurses, and patients to the floor at gunpoint, binding the hands of medical workers and detaining 2 brothers, including one who was being treated for a gunshot wound he sustained during ultra-Zionist settler and security forces attack on Tel. Here's images of that. You can see right here. The raid, documented in footage from inside the hospital and described by hospital officials, comes amid a wider Aardvark land crackdown across the northern occupied West Bank following the deadly events in Tel. Where is the Aardvark land army They're accompanying the raid and providing backup. And here are those images. "17 Aardvarkland human rights groups issued an urgent appeal for international action to stop escalating ultra-Zionist settler and IDF violence across the occupied West Bank, warning that revenge attacks following the killing in Tel could rapidly grow into mass pogroms." That's the whole point of all this. The group cited arson, property destruction, and forced expulsion, saying ultra-Zionist settler militia groups are enabled and supported by the Aardvarkland army. They urged immediate pressure on Aardvarkland to prevent further attacks and protect Palestinians under international law. All these groups right here, human rights groups there. Yeah. I got a sneaking suspicion they don't give a damn. Palestinian Minister of Health says 86 killed Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since the beginning of the year, 21 of whom were killed by ultra-Zionist settlers. And there's not even a claim of terrorism. If you're against this, you're an anti-Semitic terrorist. If you're against them burning down your house, and you saw that report with that woman, if you're against that, you're an anti-Semitic terrorist. And so there you go. Let's now wrap up as we usually do. See if we're bombing Iran right now. Surprisingly, we're not. What was it? 13 days in a row, U.S. Central Command had commenced bombing campaigns against Iran. Let's see if they launched anything since we've been live here. Tehran, let's see. Yeah, not much. Let's see. Trump says Iran may not be ready for deal, but he will listen if they are. Trump says Iran President Pezeshkian camp slams state TV over Khomeini's U.S. talk edited. Trump switched Air Force One after Iran-linked threat. New York Times. I think that's old news. U.S. lawmaker voices for tougher Iran-European positioning. Iran lawmaker compares Trump to Goliath in social media post. So I get we're not bombing him right now because Trump's busy at his hoax dinner, his clown show, his puppet show, known as the White House Correspondents' Dinner. All right, let's check out Al Jazeera, and then we'll get out of here for today on this Friday. Al Jazeera, latest headlines. Trump says U.S. locked and loaded. UNESCO lists West Bank Lebanon sites. They're listing them as World Heritage Sites. They don't care. They don't care about international law. They don't care about anything. They're possessed by evil and their belief that they're going to fulfill their evil prophecy. Saudi civil defense says danger has passed in Yambu Governorate. Acute hunger in Gaza set to rise as UN warns of aid shortfalls. Yeah. Reported yesterday, they're having a public health crisis in that they have no sanitation system. It's been blowing up. You got to relieve yourself. You got to dig a hole outside your tent in the dirt, and you may be bombed at any time. They're bombing refugees in tents continually. All right, friends, that's all the reporting we have for today. At least we're not bombing Iran right now. I think we probably will over the weekend. I don't know. Let's pray for peace. Let's hope we're not. But that seems to be the pattern. All right, let me head over to the channel, see if we have any viewers on the Odysee. Anybody in the chat over there? Shout out to Odysee chat. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee. Shout out to Huffman, Pink, Vegas, Burr and Gurr, Deep. Pink says mockery is incredibly powerful. Deep, definitely a better music choice. That's saved for the armor-piercing, depleted uranium tank shells. Yeah, remember that? Huffman says PayPal want a face scan to sign up here in England. Damn, man. See, it's a coordinated rollout, right? We're seeing it. Coordinated rollout of collecting your bio data there with the face scans. It's everywhere now. Gurr had to take off. Good night, Gurr. Crema, a children's book depicts the soccer player stars and the World Cup final score, RC ball, like Tiger Woods, RC ball. Afghanistan had all kinds of our military resources left there. One guy visited and picked up vests, plates, helmets, sold them. Yeah. Shout out to Fat Bob. Thank you for tuning in and joining us, Fat Bob. Yeah, come back Monday, please. All right, thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee and chatting it up over there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Bitchute, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Let me head over to the chats over here. I'm just going to go about halfway up. We have quite a bit of chats going on. Shout out to Denver on the Rumble, Wretched on the Rumble. Yeah. Houthis need destruction, Matthew says. Manny says, this guy thought it was good idea that Biden said you ain't black. So stupid. Read the freaking, we're nonpartisan here. So lame already. Shout out to Zio, Mac on the YouTube, a judicious magistrate in Chaistan was murdered this week. Shout out to Carrie. Thank you for tuning in on the Rumble. Let's see, chatting amongst themselves. And I guess that's it. Let's see, I'm still scrolling. Quite a bit of chat on the Rumble. I believe they're chatting amongst themselves. Evil Gavir. Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, MH, what a lovely society, aren't they? Our greatest allies. You want to be allied with these psychos? I don't think so. I don't think so. Something tells me you don't want that karma on you in any way, shape, or form. What these psychos are doing, man. We don't want it on us. Trump is always right. You gotta be kidding me. Europe don't want them back. Europe doesn't want them back, so they're trying their best to support them to stay there in somebody else's land. Yeah. Imagine Germany giving its territory to them because, after all, it was all Germany's fault, not Palestine's. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I hear you, MH. He says, I'm not talking about revenge. I'm talking about the universal law of things always tend to the equilibrium. Yeah, it's all going to come back, you know? That's what I'm saying. We don't want to hitch our wagon. That's more like it. Trump looks like a rotting carcass. We don't want to hitch our wagon to these psychos. I don't want anything to do with them, man. Stay away from me. I don't want to know you. I don't want any part of this. They sucked us into it, man. We got enough problems here in America. But now we got to report on this and follow what they're doing because they freaking tied us to it. End all relations with these psychos, man. And they want to blow up the Middle East. Let them. It's none of our concern, honestly. We're getting ready, as we reported at the beginning of the show, we're getting ready to conscript here now at the end of this year. They're running simulations. How's that going to go? All right, friends, let's pray for peace. Remember, all wars are bankers' wars. Wars are racket. And yeah, Trump looks like a rotting carcass. So there you go. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening and have a great weekend. If something insane happens, I'll do a special report over the weekend. I hope nothing that insane happens. And we come back on Monday with the world still semi-intact. Anyhow, let's pray for peace and have a great weekend. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you for more Weaponized News on Monday.